Let's get right into it. Number 9. Cemetery picnics. Imagine you're living in the 1860s. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and you're heading to the cemetery, not to cry or mourn, but to have a picnic. Back in Victorian times, cemeteries weren't just for the dead, they were basically parks. These places were designed with beautiful gardens, fancy statues, and winding paths. People would pack their picnic baskets and spend the whole day there. They'd spread their blankets right next to Grandma's grave and have a family feast. These were full-on social events. People would bring entire meals, play games, and even court potential partners. The cemeteries actually encouraged it. They'd have concerts, poetry readings, and art shows. Some even installed playground equipment for kids. As public parks started popping up, people began thinking maybe having potato salad next to dead people wasn't the best idea. Plus, some folks got a bit too rowdy. Turns out mixing alcohol and tombstones leads to some questionable decision-making. After that, cities started banning cemetery picnics. They passed laws making it illegal to eat, drink, or party in graveyards. Number 8. Having your own pinball machine. 1942, New York City. You have a pinball machine in your basement. Suddenly you hear sirens. Police are raiding buildings, but they're not looking for drugs or weapons. They're hunting for pinball machines. New York's Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia had declared war on pinball machines. He called them tools of the devil and claimed they were stealing lunch money from schoolchildren. In January 1942, LaGuardia ordered police to round up every pinball machine they could find. They staged dramatic photo ops where the mayor himself would smash them with a sledgehammer. Then they'd dump the broken machines in the ocean, like giving them concrete shoes. Back then, pinball machines didn't have flippers. You just pull back the plunger and watch the ball bounce around. In 1947, a company came up with flippers. Now pinball was about skill, not just luck. But the ban stayed in place. People ran underground pinball rings, like prohibition for arcade games. Kids snuck into basements to play illegal pinball. This went on until 1976, when Roger Sharp stepped up to save pinball. He went in front of the New York City Council and said he could prove pinball was a game of skill. He pointed to the middle lane and said he'd hit it on his next shot. The ball went exactly where he said it would. The council lifted the ban right there. Some say Roger later admitted it was just a lucky shot. Number 7. Running tontine investment schemes. Imagine you're sitting in a room with 100 other people. Everyone puts $1,000 into a pot. You get yearly payments from this money pool, but when someone dies, their share gets split among the survivors. The last person standing gets everything that's left. By 1905, over half of all American adults were part of one. Your great-great-grandparents were probably betting on outliving their friends. People actually started killing each other in tontines. Mrs. Johnson's accidental fall down the stairs didn't seem so accidental. Mr. Peterson's food poisoning started looking suspicious. But the real death blow to tontines came in 1905. Insurance executives were caught running the biggest scam in history. They were taking the tontine money to buy mansions and yachts. Meanwhile, Grandma's still waiting for her yearly payment, thinking she just needs to outlive a few more people. The scandal was so bad that newspapers started calling them death pools. Congress looked at all this and said, yeah, maybe letting people bet on their friends' deaths isn't the best idea. So they banned tontines. Modern retirement plans are basically tontines anyway. When someone in your pension plan dies, their money gets redistributed to the other members. We just don't talk about it at the office Christmas party. Number 6. Swill Milk. In 1858, most milk in New York City was basically poison. Dairy farmers kept their cows in dark, wet basements next to distilleries. The cows were force-fed hot waste from whiskey production. The cows got so sick that their tails would literally rot and fall off. The milk these dying cows produced was a gross, bluish liquid that looked nothing like milk, but the farmers had a solution. They'd add chalk, plaster of Paris, and eggs to make it look white again. Sometimes they'd throw in molasses to make it taste better. They marketed this as pure country milk. Thousands of babies died because of this, but everyone just assumed that's what happens to babies in cities. Then a journalist named Frank Leslie decided to investigate. He published pictures of these sick cows standing in their own waste, being fed hot mash through tubes. The public was horrified, but the dairy farmers tried to argue that this was actually good for the cows. They claimed the hot whiskey waste was nutritious. Eventually, laws were passed making this illegal. Number 5. Flammable Halloween costumes. Imagine it's Halloween night in 1952. Your kid is dressed as a cowboy, running around the neighborhood collecting candy. Everything's going great until they run past someone's jack-o'-lantern. In just seconds, that adorable cowboy costume turns into a nightmare. The untreated cotton ignites faster than newspaper. It's not just catching fire, it's literally melting onto the skin. Back then, pretty much every Halloween costume was a potential death trap. Manufacturers were using the cheapest materials they could find, untreated cotton, rayon, and other fabrics that might as well have been soaked in gasoline. Then came 1952, and a little boy named Stanley Shoshik. He was trick-or-treating in his cowboy costume when it caught fire. The costume burned so fast and hot that Stanley didn't survive. His mother, rather than just grieving, decided to fight back. She went straight to her congressman and demanded change. The next year, Congress passed the Flammable Fabrics Act. Suddenly, selling these fire-hazard costumes was illegal. Companies had to start treating their fabrics with flame-retardant chemicals. Today, every Halloween costume has to pass strict flammability tests, and if a costume fails, it never makes it to store shelves. Because of Stanley, you can be pretty sure your ghost costume won't turn you into an actual ghost. Number 4. Metal-tipped lawn darts. Imagine it's 1987, and you're at a backyard barbecue. Kids are running around with foot-long metal spears, throwing them up in the air like tiny javelins. Welcome to lawn darts, the game that somehow made it past every safety inspection until one tragic incident changed everything. These were basically miniature spears with plastic fins. Each dart weighed about 1 pound and could punch through a skull with 23,000 pounds of force per square inch. The game was simple. Throw the darts in the air and try to land them in plastic rings on the ground. Between 1978 and 1988, lawn darts sent 6,100 people to the emergency room. The game was actually banned once before in 1970, but manufacturers found a loophole. They just had to label it as an adult game, because apparently, adults are immune to getting stabbed by falling metal spikes. Everything changed when David Snow's 7-year-old daughter, Michelle, was killed by a stray lawn dart. The dart pierced her skull when another kid threw it over a fence, not knowing she was on the other side. Snow didn't just grieve. He got mad, and then he got even. He spent the next few years gathering injury statistics, writing to politicians, and basically becoming the lawn dart industry's worst nightmare. Finally, in 1988, the Consumer Product Safety Commission permanently banned the sale of metal-tipped lawn darts. You can still find these death darts at garage sales. They're actually worth quite a bit now. Apparently nothing says collectible like a banned toy that could kill you. Number 3. Patent medicines with secret ingredients. Back in the 1800s, you could walk into any store and buy cough syrup made with cocaine. Patent medicines were basically the Wild West of healthcare. These miracle cures claimed to fix everything from baldness to cancer, and nobody could stop them from saying it. The most popular one was called Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup, marketed to help teething babies sleep. It worked because it was loaded with morphine. Babies would sleep all right, sometimes permanently. These companies would advertise their products as special secret formulas. It's like buying a mystery drink at a sketchy bar, except this mystery drink might have heroin in it. One popular medicine called Hamlin's Wizard Oil claimed it could cure everything from headaches to cancer. Their marketing slogan was, "There is no sore it will not heal, no pain it will not subdue." They weren't entirely wrong. It's hard to feel pain when you're knocked out cold from all the alcohol and morphine. Then Samuel Hopkins Adams came along and started investigating what was actually in these medicines. He found cocaine in children's teething powder, alcohol and alcohol-free temperance tonics, and enough morphine in baby medicine to knock out a horse. His articles led to the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906, which forced companies to actually list their ingredients. Turns out people were less excited about buying Dr. Amazing's miracle cure when they could see it contained cocaine and heroin. Number 2. Selling radium-infused water. In the 1920s, people could walk into their local pharmacy and buy bottles of radioactive water that was deliberately infused with radium. The most popular brand was called Radithor, marketed as Liquid Sunshine, and the cure for the living dead. The guy behind it, William Bailey, wasn't even a real doctor. He was just some random dude who thought, hey, let's put radioactive material in water and sell it to people. And people bought it like crazy. Rich people especially loved this stuff. It was like the 1920s version of those $200 wellness drinks celebrities promote on Instagram today. One of Radithor's biggest fans was Eben Byers, a wealthy industrialist and amateur golf champion. This guy loved Radithor so much he drank 3 bottles every day for 3 years. His doctor had recommended it for arm pain after a fall. His teeth started falling out. Then his jaw literally began to crumble. Parts of his skull were actually dissolving. By the end, he had lost most of his jaw, and holes were appearing in his brain. When he finally died in 1932, he was buried in a lead-lined coffin because his body was so radioactive. The Wall Street Journal ran the headline, The radium water worked fine until his jaw came off. Bayer's death finally got the government to crack down on radioactive drinks. The company had sold around 400,000 bottles before they were shut down. That's almost 500,000 bottles of radioactive water that people willingly drank. Number 1. Mailing children. Back in 1913, if you wanted to send your kid to grandma's house, you had two options. You could buy them an expensive train ticket, or you could just mail them. People used to mail their children through the U.S. Postal Service. It all started when the Postal Service launched their parcel post service in 1913. They had some pretty vague rules about what you could and couldn't mail. Basically, if it weighed less than 50 pounds and wasn't explosive, you were good to go. Some parents looked at their kids, looked at the rules, and thought, well, technically, the first recorded case was in Ohio, where a couple mailed their infant for 15 cents. They even insured the baby for $50, just in case the mailman dropped their precious package. In 1914, little May Pierstorff's parents decided to mail her to her grandparents. They stuck 53 cents worth of stamps on her coat and sent her on her way. The journey was 73 miles, and she arrived safe and sound. The mailmen back then weren't strangers. They were usually trusted members of the community. So when they mailed a child, it usually meant the kid was getting a personal escort from someone they knew. It's like an early version of Uber, but with more stamps and less surge pricing. This went on for several years until someone at the post office finally said, hey, maybe we shouldn't be delivering children like they're Amazon packages. In 1920, they officially banned the practice. They had to specifically clarify that human beings don't count as harmless live animals that can be mailed. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.